Apart from the recreational value of sports, sporting activities across the world also hold significant influence in entertainment as well as business. Now, COVID-19, that's coronavirus, which has infected more than 110,000 people globally, has claimed the lives of more than 3,800 people and, of course, spread to at least 100 countries. The epidemic has also affected sporting events across the world as governments scramble to stop the spread of the virus, advising against public gatherings, social gatherings and all the likes. Several sporting activities like what they've either been postponed or cancelled outrightly. Italy, Europe's worst hit country, has cancelled all sporting events until at least April the 3rd, and the government has put the country on lockdown as it battles the virus. How much more of such impacts has the outbreak had on sports, and what does this portend for investment in sports? That's our focus on Nigeria today as we take a look at COVID-19 and sports. Welcome to the program. My name is Blessing Abu. To take a look at this, that's COVID-19 and sports. I'd like to welcome Sule Onekojo. He's a sport analyst. Welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure.
Right, and joining us is NTA sport journalist. I'm sure you've heard the voice everywhere, and he's here as well. Ayodeji Makinde.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen. Like we'll say in our parlance, the streets is not smiling, and the sports world is not smiling because there are several activities. We have the Olympics, we have several of such, and definitely investment in that direction is not small. There's no means by any means small business. Let's assess the impact first of all. COVID-19 and the sports world.
It started tentatively, and I think it's going out of hand right now, and everybody is scared. You know, we're taking precautions here and there, but the truth of the whole thing is that it is real, and it's catching up everywhere. So nobody's going to lie down. I mean, to just keep praying that it's not going to come, especially sporting events, and you know that it's only commands high, measure of persons coming together, the gatherings of all sort of persons from across the world. Football, for instance, I mean, you can't determine who is going to be there and who's not going to be there, and contact is very, very assured, and they are telling us that one of the easiest ways is contact. So of course we should be scared.
Unfortunately, it's a sad narrative that we've witnessed in the last few months, especially for those of us who really follow sports. And considering the fact that when you know of something that can readily wipe you out easily, you are a bit more concerned as to the way you approach it, as to the way you do it. Here in Nigeria, from a particular part of the country, they say when you know the day you will die, there is no way your mind will not shake. But on at a larger scale, just like what we're seeing, it's really affected sports big time. Football, basketball, baseball, golf, just name the sport that has to do with contact. Everybody is feeling it, and of course, it's really affecting the passion for sports.
Now, of course, the disease is not slowing down. We've seen the spread, in fact, in leaps and bounds across the various nations. Now, already I started talking about some of the ones that, let's list particularly that's where we have highest, well, all the sports. Of course, you have the contact, as you say, but let's point out some of those key ones, at least that's on the surface for us to actually call to mind.
Well, it is generally accepted that there are two biggest sporting events in the world. That's the FIFA World Cup and the Olympics. And coronavirus becomes big this year because of the Tokyo Olympic Games, and there are already concerns that the games might be postponed because of the spread of the virus at the moment. But beyond the Olympics, which is still some few months away, some sports or some sporting events have really suffered because of the fear of the coronavirus. We've seen the Chinese Grand Prix being cancelled already, which was supposed to take place in Shanghai. It's one of the biggest events of the Grand Prix calendar when it comes to Formula One sports. We've also seen, especially Italy that you mentioned in your intro, the Italian Serie A now is looking a bit shaky because there are 3 proposals on the table right now. because the government has come out to say no more sporting events, with the exception of some of the teams still participating in the UEFA Champions League and the UEFA Europa League, which means fans who have bought tickets to watch their darling teams season through cannot enjoy what they've paid for. Also, for many who don't really follow but love the passion that sports gives to us, we cannot enjoy that at the moment. We're also seeing recently, just today, we've seen Kenya come out to say every sports men and women in the country cannot travel out of the country in the next 1 month. Now, that affects your schedule, it affects your plan, it affects your process for the year, what you plan to achieve. It's not really helping the situation. Just in the last few hours also, we've seen the ITTA, that's the International Table Tennis Federation, Japanese tour be cancelled because of the fear of spreading it more. It's not really helping the situation. Unfortunately, no matter how much you want to enjoy sports, what it brings to us, safety first.
Okay, sure. All right, so let's take a look at some of the CEs already listed, and these are huge investments, no doubt.
Let's start from the, Football Champions League. Starting this evening, as we're talking, there's a complete lockdown in Spain. It's going to be played behind closed door. Valencia against Atalanta is going to be behind closed doors. Those are huge games. For instance, most of these clubs, there's a target of, the kind of funding that and revenue that they expect to generate from, big ties. Like, it doesn't come every time. These are small clubs that, by chance they found themselves in this, and to imagine that fans are not going to be part of it, it takes the color away, it takes the excitement away, and then we'll talk of money terms. So much is going to be lost in revenue, TV rights, and all that.
Tourism,
how many people travel to go and watch? How many will want to go now? Nobody. Bars and nightclubs and all sort of entertainment venues are going to be shut down, or they are not going to attract as many crowd as you expect on a typical night like this. So all that money, so much money is going to go down, and it's a big loss. But like we all agree here, health first, safety first. Nobody's going to put his or her life on the line just because you want to have fun watching your football.
Okay, are you talking about the 2020 Olympics or also Euro 2020, and for some leagues, like for Italy now,
Italy's on the lockdown. La Liga is queuing in. From this weekend, they're going to start playing behind closed doors. The French league, Ligue 1, is equally going down like that, and Germany, they've equally taking steps towards that. Everybody is trying to be as cautious as possible, because that's just the way to go. It spreads through contact, and you can't go to these events without contact. It must come. As you walk in through the turnstiles, into the stadium, you must have contact, and even players themselves, they said there should be no handshakes again. These events are contact events, for God's sake. So there's no way you can run away from it.
Since we start talking about the football leagues, I know there are some instances whereby I don't know how much it works for you for the sports guys, but then there are some league situations whereby you have to determine who is being on the top, or whatever the rankings will be at this point in time. What do you see happening to such if they're not if it's not taking through as at the time it's supposed to be because of this containment and all of that?
It's easy. It's a reschedule. But it's going to cramp up, towards the end of the season, because every season has a specific time to run. What it means is so many games are going to be, put together at some point, for them to, end the season, and the impact is humongous. The season when players are supposed to rest, they might not have it. Transfer seasons will be affected, and then of course the next season again will be affected, and other tournaments scheduled to hold within this period. We're talking about the Olympics. It's going to be affected. Formula 1, for instance, you know, Grand Prix in Bahrain. Of course, they're putting it off. All these scheduled events, there's so many things that goes into it.
I know for followers, you know, back home like this, what are the talks around
what's
town?
the weekend without football, for instance, for so many followers of the beautiful game? I mean, so, and of course, even back home here, bars that run some of these joints, they don't, if there's no football, nobody comes up there. So you're going to lose money, even back home in Nigeria.
Exactly, because I was going to say, okay, if the very places and locations are being affected directly, how much more those of us are here?
It is down the line. The chain of its impact is unimaginable. We just have to, you know, pray and be as cautious as possible. I pray that some of these are scientists that are doing, you know, some work behind the scene come up very, very fast, you know, to nip this whole thing in the bud, because it's scary.
Scary. Okay, still latching on that, coming to you now. Of course, some of the stadiums will still be open, at least for those who feel strong and safe enough to come around. But the effect of actually having most of them indoors, as you said, are perhaps maybe digitally projected. Tell us the impact of such.
It takes the beauty away from the sport. For instance, football, the Champions League it's always a memorable night, especially when the theme song of the UEFA Champions League is played. You want to see fans chanting, supporting their teams, booing and jeering and the rest, as the case might be. But that would not be present. Bayern Munich tweeted some 5 hours ago that the UEFA Champions League match will be played behind closed doors. Now, the Allianz Arena in Germany is perhaps one of the biggest stadiums in the world. The biggest in Germany when it comes to, after the Olympic Stadium in Berlin anyway. But because of the value and the beauty of the edifice, when a Champions League match is coming up there, everybody wants to see what Bayern Munich, what they're going to do. You're seeing that, you're sitting in the comfort of your room, you cannot feel the vibes, the goosebumps and the rest are not coming out. It affects the teams adversely. You take a look at a stadium that has a capacity of 80,000 fans, you multiply that, let's say 50 euro at the average. That's about $4 million gone. You do that for about 2-3 matches, you're looking in the region of $15 million not coming in just because of this virus. Coming down to Nigeria, you rightly mentioned about some sports where many go to view the matches. What about those who decide to watch it on their phones and watch it on different platforms? You're not feeling connected to the game again because you want to see that fan pointing at the coach yelling at the players and the rest. The connection is no longer there, and it's unfortunately sad.
Very sad, if you ask me. Very sad. Anyway, gentlemen, we'll go on this break. I'm sure we'll feel our connection here. We'll talk more about what other things sport administrators need to do differently this time around, and also especially for our own parts of the world. Yes, we have on 1 or 2 cases around too. So what we need to do to actually bring back the fun and the glitz back to an area such as this we're discussing today. This is Nigeria Today. We'll take a break now and get the views of the ordinary Nigerians of the impact of coronavirus on sports. Let's get to this straight.
It's for our own safety, and not for only the sports alone, for the world generally. Because everybody notices, everybody is aware the spread of coronavirus, how it's fast spreading across the country, across the nation.
I believe sport is one of the activity that was done under a ministry, where that ministry is owned by government, and the government are taking all its medium to fight to see how it can protect the citizen from this corona. So if the government decided to see that this cancelling anything, even if it is going to Jerusalem or going to Mecca, that is the religion. If that will be cancelled and it will improve the health of the citizen, I'm supporting.
If anything possible to be done to protect life, to kind of stop losing people, is welcome. If sporting activity will be put to hold because of coronavirus not to spread beyond border, it is welcome.
In sporting activities, there is always a kind of contact, and that is where you gather more people
to get more contact with people. But if there is anything they can do to prevent this contact or spreading of the diseases, I think it's welcome.
Cancelling the sporting activities for because of the coronavirus, I think it's a welcome idea, because you can't joke with life. Even if they play the ball now and people get to contact this virus in large numbers, to control it will be very difficult.
To save lives, and that is one of the major important of them. Stopping it, at least to get one or two solutions to that sickness before at least they can like let them go back to the sports activities also.
Thank you for rejoining us. Yes, we are still here in the studio, and our focus on Nigeria today is COVID-19 and sports. And just like the gentlemen analysts have already talked about so many things, let's bring it back to our own environment. Gentlemen, just last weekend here, we had a case, or at least a player that slumped, and we're looking at vital lessons, preparing for the unexpected. Perhaps the world never thought it was going to be on a large scale when this thing triggered off in Wuhan, in China, and here we are, some other countries already, apart from Nigeria too, on the continent. Now, preparing for such epidemic and all of this one back in our own climate, what should administrators, sports administrators, be doing differently? I particularly raised that of the last weekend football player who slumped, and at the point we're told that even the ambulance wouldn't start.
It was not even an ambulance. It was a makeshift ambulance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a sad situation. It's been happening. If you go to live venues across Nigeria, you know that this is real. They make you believe so many things. I would take a lot of things for granted, and unfortunately the young man had to, you know, pay the huge price, death, and then everybody's talking about it now. And I just hope that it won't be, you know, like the way we do our things. The noise is up now because it just happened, and then business as usual moments after. I'm happy the minister has come out to wield the big stick that no sporting events, I mean football for instance, let there be no league again until venues are, you know, certified to have complete medical, ambulances and personnel on ground to take care of such incidences. I hope that it will be adhered to. You know, these things are there. The laws guiding the league provides that a stadium before is approved, those things should be in place, you know. I mean, an ambulance, a walking ambulance, it's certified fit ambulance with, you know, men to man it. The way they were attending to the young man that day, it was a sorry sight. I mean, if you saw those who were even doing it, you would know that these are not medical personnel at all, and maybe his life would have been saved if we had the right people there, you know. So you can imagine, let's just not even go there, if it's something as I mean, serious as this coronavirus thing. I mean, let us not even go there. I can't even imagine it. I mean, because I don't want to pray that such a thing. But again, it's a good thing that it is happening, and then let us put, you know, a stop to it, and let us be very, very alert medically, especially any venue where people will have to converge for any function at all, apart from even sports. Let there be, you know, critical measures on ground. This thing is real already. If it's in, I mean, Lagos, it's in, I heard the other case is in Abeokuta. When they talk about the concept of global village, I never really took it serious until now. It makes more sense to me now that, yes, the world is indeed a global village.
So Wuhan, globalization actually happened with coronavirus. You
can imagine Wuhan way out there. I mean, today everybody's talking about it here, so we should be very serious about this thing.
Okay, Ayodeji, we're still on the issue of for precautionary measures by to be taken into consideration for sporting events and sports administration. Yes, that case I just mentioned is just one of the many that we've seen. We've seen players actually die on the field, and to seem as if we never even thought about the medical side as well. Sport itself, it's medicine for people.
If you take a look at some particular sports and you look at the attention and focus they put on medicine or healthcare,
generally,
you'll be amazed Have you ever wondered how come boxers survive after a terrible knockout in the ring? They still come back after 5-6 hours to address a press conference. It's always very difficult in some parts of the world where we're talking about it now. Take a look at the case of Fabrice Muamba in the English Premier League, who slumped. In some parts of the world, he's gone. We would have been doing remembrance by now. But he's still alive. For the case of Cheme Martins, who passed on, it's so unfortunate that we are taking reactive measures. When, as the case of coronavirus, we're seeing the government taking proactive measures even before the case was reported. That's what we should have. For administrators, we shouldn't just wait and sit back and say, oh, it's not yet here, we've not seen the case first. Let's ensure it can come at any time. And because you cannot predict anything. What you can only talk about is what is happening now and what happened before. You can make a prediction to what's happening in the future, but you might not really get the results based on your permutations. So for many of the sports administrators that we have here in the country, we should move beyond what has been obtainable in years past. We should start taking proactive measures, even beyond what we think would happen. Just believe it could occur at any time. And once we're well prepared, we'll hit it big time. He was talking about the event in Lafayette, and you take a look at the ambulance and those who are trying to save a life. I mean, I've been to some league venues in the country, and when they tell you medics or first aid come to the rescue of someone, you just shake your head from the commentary box like, wow, seriously?
From the stretcher, you know that, I mean...
Is this what we should be doing?
It's a makeshift.
It's terrible.
Gentlemen, I don't want us to sound depressed and carry on with the depressed, but definitely this is a wake-up call for every one of us. And as you go around to actually cover some of this event, I'm sure they believe in your own reportage as well. So perhaps you need to also write about this, not just maybe the goals and all of those, but those behind the scenes. I think every one of you as a sport journalist should actually take a look at that. Perhaps that will make it a different investment for those who want to at least look into that as well. Well, COVID-19 and sports, that's been our focus. Thank you, gentlemen. Ayodeji Makinde, you know, so thank you very much for coming. But then, just before we go, ensuring that the sporting world is not completely going or being grounded, or at least to a complete halt. There could be some lessons from other parts of the world that we could borrow as well. Perhaps one or two that you've seen them try to do with the different activities. Let's see.
We've talked about football.
Yeah.
In the next,
there's golf, there's tennis, there's...
well, we're going to see the Players' Championship in Florida
athletics
in the next few days. And we've seen them come out to say strongly that they would not cancel the tournament. They will allow players to come onto the golf course, but they will ensure that those who will be involved will be monitored closely. Okay. Unfortunately, it's another trying period for sports. And of course, we can only believe and be optimistic that sports will survive. It's not going to take over. We've seen worse cases in years past, and humanity and nature has survived. So I believe no matter how strong this would really shake sports, I believe sports will still triumph at the end of the day.
Okay. Sule?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that sports will come out stronger and better. I mean, the lesson at the end of the day, for us, especially in Nigeria, is maybe taking the aspect of medical emergencies and medical precautions more seriously, because it's very, very important for all of us.
Okay, Sule Olukojo, sports analyst, thank you very much for coming on Nigeria Today. Also appreciate our own sport journalist, Ayodeji Makinde. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so very much. But coronavirus hasn't been a blessing.
Please stop where you are.
Stay where you are.
All right.
All right. This is where we put an end to the game. That's the game here being talked about tonight. That's COVID-19 and sport. We appreciate your time as well. Nigeria Today returns tomorrow, 7:30 in the evening, and I'm sure you look forward to another interesting topic on the Nigerian scene. My name is Blessing Abu. Meanwhile, you can watch this edition or any other edition at all on YouTube page. That's youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Enjoy the rest of the day.